Friend! Oh, new friend! Oh, friend! Please be my friend! Oh, friend!
Hello and welcome to Cheap Shot Entertainment. I am Luke and you are the Cheap Shot Nation, and you're probably here to hear my thoughts on Hell in a Cell 2018. Took place in San Antonio, Texas at the AT&T Center. It happened last night as we are recording this, which was the 16th of September, although it was the 17th of September here in the UK. And like I said, I'm going to give you my thoughts on the matches, and there was plenty to go on. There was lots of really good matches. There was a couple of weaker matches as well, but we'll go through them one by one. And as usual, I will put them alongside my predictions that I made for my WWE Prediction League. So if you want to find out my thoughts, keep it locked right here on Cheap Shot Entertainment. Click the notification bell, click the subscribe button, and give us a thumbs up. So we go into the first match of the night, which was the first of two Hell in a Cell matches. It featured Jeff Hardy going against the new sort of Viper Randy Orton. He's very much reminiscent of the old Legend Killer Randy Orton. He really has a real mean streak at the moment, and Hell in a Cell is the perfect place for him to debut that. I'd say debut, his first time in quite a long time. Also the debut of a new red Hell in a Cell, which I'm not quite sure who made the decision to make it red, but I suppose red's the colour of hell. Hardy gets a quick start on this one. As soon as the bell rings, it gets a quick start on Randy Orton, starts throwing punches and kicks and things like that, gets on top quickly, gets the momentum, uses the cage early. It's not very long until the tables, ladders and chairs come out. A little bit of TLC in this match, probably leading to something further on down the line. Let's say the chairs come out and Hardy gets more ladders. There's lots of cage being used. They didn't break out of the cell on this one, but they did go all out on using the furniture that happens to be under the ring. I've always wondered why they put tables, ladders and chairs under the ring. Do they use them to set up the ring? I don't know. Answers on a postcard or in the comments section down below. So it goes a bit back and forth from that point. Randy Orton gets the upper hand and then starts the demolition of Jeff Hardy. Starts really beating him up, starts going for the limbs, starts wearing him down, until the point where Jeff Hardy then decides to set up a ladder. But he sets it up in a kind of scissor position, so you've got the cross braces exposed. He tries to suplex Randy Orton into the ladder, gets countered. Jeff Hardy goes through, stomach first, looks really painful to be honest. Yes, they know how to fall, but I wouldn't want anybody to chuck me onto a ladder in any way, shape or form. So that was the turning point in the match. After Hardy got a bit of a comeback, didn't really put much of a fight after this. There's one big spot at the end which did lead to the pinfall, where Randy Orton was down and out pretty much. Jeff Hardy got the twist of fate sort of Stone Cold Stunner, twist of fate stunner I'm going to call it. Randy Orton gets set up on a table. Jeff Hardy gets his little ladder out and he gets his big ladder out. Looks like he's going to do the leapfrog thing that he usually does. He decides against this, climbs to the top of the big ladder, hangs from the cell, starts getting a bit of momentum, is going to go for a splash. Misses completely, face first through the table. The referee then tries to stop the match. Randy Orton, being his heel self, doesn't want this to happen, and obviously there's no DQ in a Hell in a Cell, so he can't stop it really. They lift the cage up, try and get the gurney in there as well. Randy Orton insists that the referee count his shoulders to the mat. Randy Orton gets your pinfall victory in this one. I am 1-0 in my predictions at this point, which is much better than I did at SummerSlam. Randy Orton's your winner. No real finishing move here. Jeff Hardy just missed a big spot and Randy Orton took advantage of it. It looked absolutely brutal. The match was brutal. At one point they were whipping each other with Jeff Hardy's studded belt that he uses to keep his jeans up. And that looked awful. He got actual blood in this one as well. So if you're a bit squeamish, I'd probably skip past this match. But great opening to the show. I would give it at least a 2.5 star rating. The finish was a bit dodgy. Like, you know, you can kind of tell that he wasn't going to hit that move. So I would have liked to have seen something different, but in my predictions I did say that Jeff Hardy would try something big, fail, and then Randy Orton would get the pinfall victory. So I want to know, with my predictions, and your victor in this match is Randy Orton via pinfall. Moving on to the second match of the night, it is another SmackDown match. It is the SmackDown Women's Championship on the line in this one, and it is Charlotte, your new SmackDown Women's Champion as of SummerSlam, versus Becky Lynch, a newly heel Becky Lynch. Now, I had a prediction that Charlotte wouldn't lose the championship in this one, so we'll go through the match and see where we go from that one. Really slow pace on this one. I don't know if it's the fact that, you know, they are telling a story. Obviously, they're good friends for a long time. The story is they're good friends for 5 years, gone through NXT together. The only two out of the four horsemen that have never really had a feud with each other. And certainly the only one that hasn't had a feud with Charlotte. So it was a long time coming, but I'm glad it did. And yeah, methodical pace. Neither lady could get the upper hand on this one. Until Becky Lynch wears down Charlotte enough to go for the disarmer. Charlotte then shows some freakish power to powerbomb Becky Lynch into the middle of the ring, and before Lynch gets the upper hand again. Lots of heel tactics here. Tries to jump off the top rope, telegraphs it. Charlotte rolls through, gets her in a Boston Crab, and goes to work on Lynch. Lynch gets to the bottom rope at this point. Charlotte then goes for a spear. This is the finish. Not much to talk about in this match. Like I say, slow, methodical pace. It did tell a story of two former friends who know each other very well. Can't get a shot in edgeways. There was lots of outside battling as well, lots of missed moves because they know each other so well and they can get out of the way and they can know what's happening. Now, this was a weird finish. Charlotte goes for the spear. Becky Lynch counters it into a DDT, rolls through, gets the pin. Charlotte cannot kick out of the pin because Becky Lynch has worn down her arm and most of her body parts. In fact, Becky Lynch was really methodical on this one, playing the heel really, really well. Your new SmackDown Women's Champion is Becky Lynch, two-time Women's Champion on SmackDown. Of course, the first ever SmackDown Women's Champion. I didn't see this happening. This was definitely the curveball of the night. And yeah, it was a decent match. It wasn't quite to the level of the Hell in a Cell match, but the ladies put on a good show in this match, and I was quite impressed with them. Going on to Evolution, I can see this happening. Them having another match, Evolution, on the 6th of October. I think it's the 6th of October. No, it's not. It's the 13th, I believe, of October. So yeah, check out the Evolution pay-per-view. It's the 6th that we have the Foxes, the Hope Foxes in Leicester. So, you know, I'll put a link as well to that so you can go and get your tickets and watch some all women's wrestling right here in the UK in the East Midlands. We'll move on to a segment where the New Day is celebrating the fact that they have managed to keep their SmackDown Tag Team Championships against Rusev Day, and then they announced their opponents for the Super Show in Australia, and they will be going against The Bar. And it's done in the form of a sort of talk show, and Kofi Kingston comes in wearing a Donald Trump wig, and it's quite funny actually. I'd suggest you check this one out. It was quite a good little segue into the next match. So speaking of Tag Team Championships, we're now on to the Raw Tag Team Championships. It is Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose going against Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre, who are the current reigning and defending Raw Tag Team Champions. Good team dynamic between Ziggler and Drew McIntyre. Of course, the dynamic between Shield 3.0 is also very good. Notable that they come out in their own gear. The Shield, they don't come out dressed as a team as they usually do. And they're wearing their own clobber, which is an interesting way of doing Shield 3.0. It shows that they're together, but not together as the Shield 3.0, and they only bring that out every so often. So the match starts with Ziggler distracting the ref straight out the back. McIntyre then gets the upper hand on Dean, and Dolph. Then, there's quick tags there between Dolph and McIntyre. Dolph then gets a little bit cocky, as he's known to do, and Ambrose then manages to get the tag to Rollins, who comes in like a house on fire, clears everything, goes for the suicide dive as Dolph Ziggler goes out of the ring, and Drew McIntyre grabs his foot to stop him from going for that suicide dive through the middle ropes. From this point in time, Dr. Ziggler then gets the upper hand, gets a DDT, jumping DDT, and then the pace slows down to the pace that Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre want it. So they start beating down Rollins, again quick tags, manages to get the tag to Dean Ambrose, who again comes out like a house on fire, the hot tag as it were, and then they hit a couple of suicide dives. Seth Rollins goes out first, and then he gets caught by Ziggler and Drew McIntyre, who then hold him, and Dean Ambrose then goes for the suicide dive as well and takes them all out, all in one go. Near fall at this point, Dolph Ziggler hits the zigzag, and just as Rollins is going for a finishing move, he tries for a superplex. Drew McIntyre comes in, gets the Claymore kick, and Dolph Ziggler pins Seth Rollins for the win, and they retain the Raw Tag Team Championships on this occasion. Really good match, really good pace, fast paced. It changed from fast paced to slow, and it was really good. Definitely one to watch, definitely a match of the night, and I'm quite pleased because I'm now 2-1 in my predictions. And so we go on to the fourth match of the evening. It is Samoa Joe versus AJ Styles, who go against each other for the second time in two pay-per-views. Samoa Joe won the last match via DQ after AJ speared him through the barricade and started beating him up. This match again is a singles match. It doesn't have any special stipulations, and I for one was quite surprised that this wasn't in a Hell in a Cell, but you can only use the Hell in a Cell every so often in a show like this. You can't have every single match in a Hell in a Cell. There has been more matches in Hell in a Cell during the pay-per-views, but one at the beginning and one at the end is plenty enough for me, especially looking at that awful red cage. So AJ is going to be the early aggressor on this one, and he goes straight after Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe just can't get going at the beginning of this match. AJ tries everything. He does his high flying, he keeps on top of Joe. Joe rolls out of the ring, tries a slingshot crossbody. Joe catches him with a kick and then throws him unceremoniously into the ring stairs. At this point, Joe takes over the momentum of the match, starts being really methodical, the methodical heel that we know he can be in a wrestling ring. AJ keeps trying to hit hard. Samoa Joe just laughs it off, always coming out on top. AJ just can't get any momentum going with this one, and it's it's difficult to watch, but it's also fun to watch in the fact that you know Joe is going to pick up that WWE Championship at some point in the near future. And AJ hits hard into the table at one point after a dive from Joe. You can imagine like 400 pounds just flying at you and throwing you into a table. And you know, there's like powerbomb from Joe as well. And AJ rolls it into, oh no, sorry, Samoa Joe rolls that into a crab, Boston crab. So AJ tries to roll out, Samoa Joe steps into it, gets a high crab, almost a Walls of Jericho type thing. And again, an impressive amount of strength from AJ. Comes back, gets Joe in a torture rack, spins him round, drops him for the sit out powerbomb. But Joe just is in complete control at this point and goes for the Coquina clutch. AJ then rolls through as Joe goes down to the floor. They're fighting, they rolls through, and the referee then gets his position. It counts the 1, 2, 3, and AJ wins. He rings the bell. He's got the win by pin, but the look on Joe's face says a different story. In a replay, which they showed on the big screen, because you can see AJ then looking at it as well, from a different angle, AJ actually taps before and he taps on Samoa Joe just before the hand comes down for the 3 count. This leads to later on, which I will get to when we get to it, because it was a segment in between a couple of matches. A very worthy match for the return of these two. The return match between these two. It is now 1-1 on the card, and they have announced now a match on the Super Show, the Super Card in Australia, that is hopefully going to finish this feud. Well, I don't want the feud to finish because I think it could go a bit further, but I think there's going to be a bit of an upset there when they do the Super Show. So watch this space on Cheap Shot Entertainment. Your winner for this match via pinfall in some dubious circumstances, and it was a really, really good match as well. Very, very easy to watch. Is AJ Styles retains the championship and goes on towards his 1 year retention of the WWE Championship over on SmackDown. In a complete overhaul of the pay-per-view, we've got another SmackDown match on the way for you here. It is the mixed tag match, and just before this match, incidentally, they did advertise the mixed tag challenge. I kind of knew that was coming based on the mixed tag stipulation here, with Brie Bella not being in the ring for a long time, Maryse still holding some of her baby fat. She looked absolutely awful last night, to be fair. She looked awesome because it's Maryse, but in terms of ring presence and in the ring, she didn't bring much to the table. So yeah, early on in the match, obviously the Miz and Maryse would get a distraction. We're starting with a lot of distractions of the referees. Doesn't last very long before Brian and Brie then get double clotheslines, and they both go out of the ring. Flying clotheslines. Daniel Bryan's using his quickness. Miz is quick. The ladies stay on the outside of the ring for most of this match, which is fair because, like I say, they've both been out of the ring for a long time. And then at one point, Brian then gets overzealous, tries to do the running turnbuckle and splash kind of combo to drop kicks. Tries one too many times. The Miz gets out of the way, and Daniel Bryan then takes a nasty looking spill on the back of his head. And as I was watching this with Woody, he said to me, he said, every time I see Daniel Bryan do something, I'm worried that he's going to hurt himself. And I was like, yeah. But Daniel Bryan, he is brilliant, and he's not missed a beat since he's been away, since his retirement, and then he's come back. Good news story. Let's hope he can keep going just like Shawn Michaels did. So we get double yes kicks, and Brie tries then the roll up after Bryan chucks the Miz out after a brief comeback, and Brie tries to roll up. Maurice rolls back through, gets a really dodgy looking pin, to be honest, and Maurice and Miz are your winners. I did predict that the ladies would get the pin. I did predict though that it would be Brie over Maurice who would get the win on this one, so that the Miz could then take that and use it against Daniel Bryan. So we're still after a third match on this one. It will happen. It is building up. Daniel Bryan still hasn't got a win over the Miz, so it is coming, and it will come in a good style. And I like both of these guys. They work well together. Just don't put them in another mixed tag match, because this was easily the weakest match on the card when it could have been really good. I mean, you've got the Miz and Daniel Bryan, and back in the day, you know, Maurice was really good, and so is Brie Bella. Brie Bella looks really good. She looks like she's not again skipped a beat. She's, you know, she's obviously training and things like that. She's training with her husband, which makes it even better because Daniel Bryan is awesome. But yeah, Maurice, not so. Maybe like in a couple of months when she's dropped baby fat and things like that, she will be a worthy contender to be on SmackDown. But the SmackDown Women's division at the moment features a lot of managers. So, you know, it's time to get some of those ladies back in the ring, get them training, get them down to NXT and get them training to go back in the ring. But your winners, Miz and Maurice, via pinfall. They then celebrate in the ring entrance and the camera keeps panning back to Bryan and Brie, who are visibly distraught. But I think I'm about 3-2 on my predictions at this point in time, so we're going to move on. So your next match on the card, and the penultimate match before the main event, is the Raw Women's Championship. The champion is Ronda Rousey at this time of speaking, and is still the champion, so I've given away the ending there. But she's going against Bliss, who's got a return match, being the former champion. Bliss puts up quite a lot of fight in this match. Definitely, as predicted, that Bliss would make more of a challenge to Ronda Rousey this time. It had to go over as a squash match in SummerSlam, and this match she can then do her homework and become better at what she does. Like I say, Bliss was very entertaining in this match. She had Alicia Fox and Mickie James at ringside, and Natalya was at ringside for Ronda Rousey as well. They didn't really get involved in this match, which was good. So we've got, you know, Alexa Bliss goes for the push on Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey then turns around and she's pissed. Bliss is then launched across the ring, and she does sell that really, really well. Bliss going for the clothesline spear type thing. Rousey sidesteps, sends her out of the ring, and then the match gets really started. Rousey continues the assault on the outside of the ring. Alexa really doesn't get any offense in until later on. She then goes to the injured arm, and Alexa then controls the arm of Rousey, which is a big point for her, because obviously a lot of her power is in her arms, and her finishing move involves her grabbing the head and swinging them round into a sort of spinning fireman's drop thingy. Yes, I am the king of naming moves. So yeah, the pace then quickens. Ronda Rousey coming back. Bliss then slows it down again. You've got Rousey, who then manages to get on, tries to get to the top rope. Bliss counters. She's in a tree of woe, and Bliss then starts beating her up and things. Rousey does come back at this point and goes for the armbar and gets the win. But Bliss tapped out before she even locked the move in. Maybe that was a smart move, I don't know. I can only imagine that it does hurt quite a bit to someone that's not completely double jointed like Alexa Bliss, but we'll leave that one for you to decide when you watch the show. Your winner and still Raw Women's Champion is Ronda Rousey, and she is getting a little bit of a run going here. She's unbeaten in the WWE, and she does actually appear on the WWE week in, week out, and she appears at pay-per-views consecutively, unlike Brock Lesnar. So on to the final match of the evening. You have Braun Strowman, who is cashing in his Money in the Bank against Roman Reigns, your new Universal Champion as of SummerSlam. He beat Brock Lesnar for the championship. It is in the Hell in a Cell. It is your second Hell in a Cell for the night, and they were allowed to get away with quite a lot more than Jeff Hardy and Randy Orton. Braun Strowman is in complete control for most of this match until Strowman misses a splash in the corner. Roman Reigns gets out of the way. You've got then a complete distraction. Both guys are down in the ring, having beaten each other up, beaten each other senseless throughout the ring and through the outside of the ring. Lots of cage being used here as well. And then you get Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins running down, Dolph Ziggler running down, Drew McIntyre running down, and the match goes into a complete mess from there. It's just a really clustered match with too many people in it, really. Does allow Strowman and Reigns to just lie there in the middle of the ring. Of course, Mick Foley is your guest referee in this one, which I haven't mentioned yet because he didn't really do anything. You'd expect if it was Mick Foley he'd get involved somehow, and it didn't. It was just there to sell something. I think he's got a new show on, maybe it's the second season of Holy Foley on WWE Network. So yeah, these four guys then climb to the top of the ring. They have a fight on top of the cage. They all four guys are down. Dolph Ziggler tries to climb back down. Seth Rollins goes for him. Bearing in mind this match is between Braun Strowman and Roman Reigns, a lot of my notes are involving other people outside of the match. So they start punching each other and smacking each other off the side of the cage until eventually both guys go through the announce tables. It is of course 20 years since the original Hell in a Cell, and they were going to do something big. So this is the big spot. Rollins and Ziggler both go through an announce table each, and crash and burn to the floor. Dean Ambrose and Drew McIntyre are then still at the top of the cell at this point, and then the music hits, and I didn't think that this guy would get a pop like he did, based on the fact that he never turned up to shows when he was the Universal Champion. Brock Lesnar's music hits. He comes down to the ring, actually doesn't pull the door off. That's a Kane move. He kicks the door in. He drops both Roman Reigns and Braun Strowman with an F5. Climbs up the door, incidentally, to get into the ring. Kicks ass. Leaves a mess of bodies on the floor in the middle of the ring. The referee calls for the finish, calls for the bell. Both guys cannot continue. That is not the rules of a Hell in a Cell. Very screwy finish to an otherwise fairly decent match. Like I say, it was a bit of a cluster and didn't really work for me, unfortunately. But yeah, it's a draw, and I can't give you any more information than that, really. Heyman did take out Mick Foley, and that's pretty much the only thing that Mick Foley did. I think it was hairspray or something, which I'm not quite sure why Heyman has hairspray, but there you go. And like I say, the ref stops the match, and that's the end. And a good match up until the point where the interference came down. But it is a good way of making both guys still look strong. Going into the Super Show in Melbourne, Australia, going into the next pay-per-view as well, which I think is Clash of Champions. And yeah, it makes both guys look reasonably strong in this instance. So that is your review of Hell in a Cell 2018. And yeah, overall, really good show. They've been putting on some decent shows recently, WWE. Overall, it was a really good show. The Brian Bree, Miz Maurice match was pretty weak. The women's matches I was disappointed with as well, both of them. Still decent, but you know, going into an all-women's pay-per-view, you want to make people want to watch the show, and I don't think they were given enough time or enough creativity to make people want to buy it, make people want to buy a ticket for it. But here in the UK, we do have a lot of independent wrestling going off, and I'm going to plug some of that for you now. We have House of Pain, we have Hope Wrestling, whose next two pay-per-views, they are kind of pay-per-views, they've got a streaming service as well. Next two shows, one is in Mansfield, one is in Leicester. The Leicester show is taking place on the 6th of October at the Leicester Working Men's Institute, in the West End of Leicester. And it is a Grand Theft Auto match, which is a ladder match for a briefcase, and they can cash that in for a championship match at any time they please. But for the first time ever, there is also one in Mansfield, and that's taking place on the 14th. No, it's not. It's taking place on the 12th of October. The 14th is the show, House of Pain show at William Gregg, featuring two cage matches, and you've also got a Fox's show taking place in the afternoon at 2:30 before the Leicester Grand Theft Auto. That's Fox's 3, and you can get your tickets over on hopewrestling.co.uk. And that brings us to the end of our video. If you like the video, give us a thumbs up. Click the subscribe button, ring the notification bell, share us with your friends, leave us a comment down below, and join us next time for more reviews on Wrestling Friends and Cheap Shot Entertainment. I have been Luke, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.